Alright guys, welcome back. I've got a couple cool things I want to share this week. The first is mounting new tires on the Cutlass. The drag radials lived a hard life and they needed replaced. And then immediately going out and doing a giant burnout with the new tires, just, you know, the whole circle of life. And then after that, I'm working on the outdoor fuel storage cabinet, the auction find that's coming along pretty nicely. I did some custom design connectors to the building just to keep it nice and safe. So with that said, let's get into it. So rolling right over into the dirty room, I've got the very bald Mickey Thompson drag radials. I'm getting them up here, and I've already pulled the valve stem cores out at this point. So getting the beads broke. It's really nice to work on what have to be the softest tires I've ever mounted or dismounted. Not that I've done that many, but this is the Redline Stands manual tire changer. It's coming pretty handy to have this, you know, in-house, and I always have to take a few minutes to remember how to, you know, use the duck head and get the tire mounted and dismounted. So I'm skipping through a little bit of the footage here, but ultimately these are a big enough sidewall and like I say, very soft. They just popped off pretty easily. So these tires are actually going to go live a new life as tire swings, which I think is kind of cool. And you can see the new ET Streets hanging out in the background. Didn't quite throw it hard enough to get it past the bead, but now we're getting there. Anybody spy the little go-kart in the background? That's a future project for a very special customer. One down. Oh, those are so bald. I love it. Definitely getting better on the second one. Took quite a bit less fumbling around to get it off there and get the tire up and a little bit of the tire sauce. Help them seal up nicely. And back into the powder racking. So it's kind of fun. I'm blowing these up, and most tires, you know, make a pretty audible pop when you fill them up. These just kind of inflated. There was no noise. It was very drama-free, which is kind of nice. But inflated, released, valve stems in, typical deal. And getting them back on the car. I also did a couple other maintenance things while the car was in here, so it needed some love. Anybody spy that Real Crest hose reel? What a nice hose reel. So a few weeks ago now, I brought home the large, 480 volt switch cabinet, which I'm going to use as an outdoor fuel storage cabinet. And one of the things I wanted to do was connect it to my building just so it can't accidentally tip over. It's pretty tall, pretty slender, and it's damn heavy. So jumping just straight into SolidWorks, I wanted to design just like a low-cost strut rod that I could screw to one of the purlins of the building. That's what you're seeing in this slime green part here. So these are kind of modeled after like ball joints. So relatively simple shapes in terms of like ball and socket connection, and then I'm using 1/2-inch stainless tubing just because I happen to have a bunch of it on hand for other projects. So turn the section back off. I have the wall version and then the top version that's going to go on top of the cabinet itself. So that'll bolt down with 3 fasteners, 2 screws into the wall, and then if I hide these bodies, it didn't listen to me. You can see that this gets a dowel pin pressed into each side, and it's flat on the bottom to help it print a little better with less support. So for the most part, these printed with very little support. The green housings did have some support on the inside. Anyway, let's go over to milling some parts. So we're jumping over to the Bridgeport, and it's been a minute, 1 since I've trained the vise, and 2 since I've cleaned anything. So took a moment to vacuum up some chips, get the vise reset in the middle of the travel, and just give it a little love. So here I am getting the dial indicator set up. I thought I had something set up for a drill chuck, but this worked fine. A few sweeps, bumping it around. I got it to within, I think, a thou-ish, maybe half thou, I don't know. Plenty close enough for punching holes in tubing for strut rods, but it's good to have it trammed in nice for general work anyway. And that's looking pretty good. Could have futzed with it a little more, but it's enough for today. So moving on, I'm pre-cutting with a tubing cutter the 1/2-inch stainless tubing, like I think I mentioned already. So getting these cut to rough length, this is going to put them in, approximately the middle of the cabinet, front to back. Punching a clearance hole for a 3/16 dowel pin. I have the dowel pins as a pretty light press fit into the plastic parts, and there'll be a slip fit into the tubing. It will be just fine. The load should be practically nothing. Here I'm using the center drill as a very, after I straighten my straight edge, we're going for ultra high precision here, but I'm using this as a very quick and dirty centering device. So I've seen this trick before. It's a good one. It gets you really close to the middle of the tubing with no extra tools or no messing around with edge finders or anything. Plenty good for what we're doing here. I'll zero it out and keep that as my y-axis 0 for the rest of the work. Everything else, the drilled holes are set a 1/2 inch from the end, which makes it easy, and then that means that all of the end caps, the 3D printed parts, can just be hammered down flush with the end of the tubing. So all told, this went together like I knew what I'm doing. I'll take it as luck. It's perfectly fine. So we're spotting the top and then switching over to whatever number size drill that was. A little bit of anchor lube, and it drilled out really nice, no issues. A little bit of filing on the burr on the back side, but nothing scary. And then thankfully I don't have to worry about orientation of the 2 holes relative to each other, so just throw it back in the vise and drill the next hole. So now we're switching to assembly mode, and like I mentioned, just hammering all of the pieces together. The dowel pins end up becoming trapped. Even if they were to shift around, they're captured inside the housings, but I don't expect any real motion. This was just a little bit of compliance for assembly. If stuff settles a little bit or whatever, it's just, again, just safety. Honestly, a strap would have been fine, but this was an excuse to model something kind of fun, add a little style to it. I don't have to justify myself. This was a fun project. Come on, guys. I did have to remember to slip the wall side collar over top of it before, so you can see it hanging out there, and then the threaded pieces in the back. Not threaded. Why did I say threaded? It's getting late. Let's get through this. This is fun. So, light tappy tappy. Those are looking really nice. All right, so now we're outside. We're off camera. I measured and got, roughly where I wanted these and made a decent plan, and then I'm eyeballing the rest of it. So a little bit of RTV around the hole locations and stainless hardware, and this is going in right into the 2x4 purlins. And yeah. All right, so we're switching over now. This is the right hand, number 2. So we're pre-drilling for the 1/4 tapped holes. I drilled one, tapped it, set the drill right in the way so you can't see what's going on. Super helpful. Ran one bolt in and then drilled the other 2 holes. And I left quite a bit of clearance in the 3D print, so it's quite a bit of compliance, but just hand tapping these 1/4-20. Same thing, I'm going to put some RTV on all 3 of the holes, and then eventually I do want to come back and put like a rain cap on top of this cabinet so it has a drip edge coming off the front, keep some of the water away from the doors. But for the moment, this is fine. It's bolted in and these look really nice. So time will tell how well the 3D prints age, but I think they're going to be okay. So these turned out really good. I'm quite happy with them. 3 bolts, a little bit of sealant. That's 1/2-inch stainless tubing that was drilled and dowel pinned into the 3D prints. These are all carbon filled PET G and pretty sturdy. Gives me some confidence to, if a small human hung on the door, it wouldn't flip over, which would be terrifying. So painted up gray. I think this is gonna make a pretty cool fuel cabinet. You see the 3D prints closing off all the stuff. Just need some shelves and we're good to go. So fun week all around. Chipping away at a lot of projects in the background, but these are the 2 things I wanted to share this week. We'll try and get caught up. I think I'm still a week behind, but if you made it this far, of course, thank you for watching, and see you guys next week.